The sun was coming up over the trees on the hill behind. Its first rays were catching the waves as they broke gently to shore. This was the fourth time that Lek had watched the tall, foreign woman with the freckled skin and the straw-colored hair make her way down through the poolside area, which was still only half repaired, and onto the empty white beach. She walked along it northwards for about 30 meters. Then she stopped, took off her sandals, placed her leather shoulder bag on the sand, sat down with her legs stretched out in front of her, and leaned her back against a fallen palm tree. There she stayed, still as a rock, looking out to sea. The quiet ritual that he witnessed once again evoked an unfamiliar emotion in Lek, a sort of longing that was intensified by the fact that every morning, at this point, he would have to leave. It was the end of his night shift, and he had to hurry home to the temporary housing estate where he and his family were now staying, and take his little sister to school. But it was Saturday. He had time to spare. He was not tired, and he wanted to see what the woman would do next. Normally, in the high tourist season, Lek would have been ready to drop by now. The nights would be long, with guests sitting by the pool, drinking till all hours. Some might arrive back dead drunk from an evening on the town. He would then have to help them up to their rooms. There would be sick to clean. Or there might be a dispute with the taxi driver to settle. Worst of all, as far as Lek was concerned, was if the night manager had gone off to take a nap, leaving him with the task of dissuading a guest from bringing in a boy or girl picked up in a karaoke bar or club along the coast. This usually developed into an unpleasant scene, which he was too young to cope with. Foreigners puzzled him. Learn English and understand how the Farangs think. That's the way to get on in the world, his father had told him. The family was proud when he got the job at the resort. It was getting harder and harder for a small-time fisherman to make ends meet. Lek was 17, and they wanted him to have a future. Learning English was not difficult for him, because he had a good ear and quickly put together the phrases he heard repeated. And although he was not yet able to carry on a long conversation, he could get by well enough. But he had to admit that, as far as understanding foreigners was concerned, he had so far failed. After 2 years of being around them, watching and serving them, he still did not really have a clue what they were all about. For instance, the way they could lie out in the blazing sun all day long, covering themselves with creams and lotions which hardly stopped them from turning lobster red by the evening. And the amount they could drink. He once watched a group of Finnish visitors get through 3 cases of vodka in one sitting. And the behavior of the family members to one another with so little respect. And of course, all the money they had. He saw people spending in a week what his father earned in 5 years. No, they remained a mystery to him. Mrs. Miller was different. He felt that he knew her, that they were connected in some way. He had learned her name from the receptionist who checked her in. "She's here till Saturday," the girl said. "Anyway, why are you so interested? She's older than your mother. Do you think she's going to pick you up and take you back to London and keep you in style as her toy boy?" She had added this as a joke, and Lek, both embarrassed and annoyed, had fumbled for an adequate answer. He did not tell her that he found Mrs. Miller to be different from the other Farangs he had met there, that her composure and the sadness that enveloped her like a transparent veil stirred in him a mixture of curiosity and protectiveness. He guessed from the first moment he saw her why she was there at the resort. The other foreigners were volunteers working in a village up the coast. She was certainly not one of them, nor was she a tourist. She did not have the air of someone on holiday. Besides, no tourists were coming there anymore. The the whole coastline was still a mess. It had to be that she was there because of the tsunami. After the wave struck, many foreigners had arrived looking for their loved ones. Lex soon came to recognize the stunned look of despair and grief on their faces. Especially in those first weeks, there was an intense, desperate bustle about the place, as though, repelled by the horror of what had happened, they wanted to be in and out of there as soon as possible. Mrs. Miller wore the same expression. He saw it in the mirror as he put her suitcase down in her room on the evening she arrived. But there was a steady, direct, kindly look in her eyes as she handed him the tip that made him wonder, why now? Why after so many months? Was she still searching?